Campbell Stevenson, and I'm thrilled to be the host of this new program, Her Story. Women's history has been a big part of my life and has been inspiring me through the years. I've learned from these tremendous women who have broken through barriers and obstacles, who've come before us, and I would love to share those stories with you so we can learn together and be inspired about how we can really educate and help everybody understand that women's stories are important and that they're a part of our history, and we need to be bringing her story to history to tell our story, because we are all together in this. Today's show is in tribute to Jean Cryor, an amazing woman leader. So be right back. Welcome back. I'm sure Jean is smiling from heaven, knowing that her 3 daughters and grandchildren have accepted this wonderful award in her name. And now let's go to Jill Moss Greenberg, who will be interviewing her family.
Hi, this interview is a little bit different because this is honoring Jean Cryor, who is deceased, but what a legacy she has left. And we're getting to interview today one of her daughters, Allison Cryor DiNardo, and she's kept her mother's name for her middle name, as I have with mine, so feel about it very much. So I'll be asking you about your mom,
Okay.
and which is wonderful to have a daughter talk about her.
Yeah, sure.
What was it about your mom growing up that helped shape how you and your sisters have grown?
Well, I think first of all, she was educated by the Religious and Sacred Heart, which are a group of very strong-willed, well-educated women who really believed that young women couldn't be limited by what they could do. She heard that message loud and clear, and she taught it to us as well. She was inspired by her father's love of reading. Her father died when she was young, right after he came back from World War II. He was a physician, and the one thing they loved to do together was to go to the library. And so it's always been a favorite of hers. And she was a voracious reader, and both fiction and nonfiction. And I think
And a wonderful writer.
And a good writer, too. But as she said, the best writers are those who read an awful lot, as she told us over and over again as children, read. And but no, those are really were her inspirations of what she could do. I mean, she went off to college, the University of Pennsylvania. Her mother said, go to the school that people have heard of. And they lived in Philadelphia, and she thought, well, I think an Ivy League school will do me just fine. So she went off to Penn. And but I think that was always her goal, was to continue to educate herself, and that the sky was the limit.
It's a wonderful event, and to have your mother honored is very special.
Well, it's great for us.
Yeah. What do you think you feel most proud of in terms of her accomplishments?
Well, I think my mother was a real winner in so many ways. I mean, she was able to have a family, she had a career, she had multiple careers. She was publisher of the Gazette newspapers, she was a state legislator, she was a member of the Planning Commission in Montgomery County, but she also was, she taught at Montgomery College, state and local government. There were so many parts that she was still always willing to try something new, and she would excel at it. And I think, as there are 3 of us.
What do you think she would hope for today and tomorrow's young people?
Gosh, I think she'd hope that they wouldn't lose hope. That times can be tough, and that through good education and hard work, that there's always hope, and there's always opportunities out there. And as everyone in our family says, because our mother said it often, was have a role in public service, whether elected office or volunteering. It only can get better if you do it. And have faith, and faith will be given to you.
Beautiful message. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting us.
We're so glad that your family is all here. It's a beautiful family, and you can feel the love you have for your mother and to see it come to the grandchildren. And we'll see your other sister, the third sister, Jennifer, in the ceremony in a little while.
All right. Thank you.
We're taking a minute now to introduce some more of the Cryor family and more of the legacy that Jean Cryor has left for our state and our nation. Could you tell us a little about yourselves?
You want to say your name?
Say your
and
name.
How old you are?
I'm Anna and I'm 11. I'm Emma and I'm 13.
And my name is Deirdre Cryor. And I'm not going to say my age.
You're entitled. It's all right. Do you mind me asking what each of you feels most proud about your grandmother and your mother?
I think that's an easy question. Most proud of her life of service, that she really took very seriously that we all have a responsibility to make the world a little bit better. And I think she did. I think she did for her community and definitely for our world. So anything you would say differently?
Same thing.
Same thing? Yeah.
What'd you like most about her?
Her stories.
She did
Her
tell
stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Emma, you've been in elected office at school. Have you ever been elected to an office in elementary school? Yeah. So maybe there's a future right here.
And you have, right, your grandmother is a great inspiration. And I need to say she is and was an inspiration for me too. I'm so impressed that your grandmother and mother was instrumental in getting the Maryland Women's Heritage Center to exist. She was a great supporter and she crossed political lines. She really didn't judge people by what party they were in, but the kind of human beings they were.
And what story they told.
And
Yeah.
what story they told. And she was extraordinary. And just for the record, I'd like to say, though, but she was elected Republican in a Democratic state, and she was the first Republican woman to ever chair the Women's Caucus in the Maryland State Legislature. And that is a very big achievement
Yes, it is.
among her
Absolutely.
many achievements.
She was proud of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Any last thoughts you'd like to share about your mother?
I think it's just terrific to be here. We're honored for her, and I know she would have been thrilled with tonight, so it's fun.
Well, I think we found the right place for her.
Yeah.
If she was going to give a message to the grandchildren or to other young people coming up, what do you think that message would be?
I think it would be that when are they going to run for office? I think she believed women needed to be in political office and be elected to office, so that's what her message would be, get women into office.
Great. Thank you so much, and congratulations to the whole family.
Wasn't that a beautiful moment with Jill interviewing Jean's family and her grandchildren there, proudly standing? We'll have more. Women have always been contributing to the arts. Take a look at this. Welcome back. Now let's go back over to the Maryland Women's Hall of Fame, where the Cryor family will be sharing some very intimate memories of their mother and grandmother.
I am pleased to introduce the daughters of the Honorable Jean B. Cryor to receive today's award given to their mother posthumously in recognition of her service and her achievement. Jennifer, would you please come to the podium and give highlights of your mother?
Thank you. I wish you were here. It does go without saying, but I think she would just be so delighted to be in front of you receiving this award. I want to thank the Montgomery County Commission for Women, for Judy Von Fraser, and Chandra Walker Holloway. I'm not sure if she's here, the president, if she is in the back. Thank you for nominating my mother. I would like to share a few things about her. She did, at her 50-year high school reunion, wrote some reflections. So I did draw from that a little bit so you could hear her voice, although I do hear that I sound just like her. I do hear her right now saying, "Stand up straight and keep this brief." She did say she was a successful politician because she knew that, the part to keep it brief. One of her quotes in her reflection was, "I know the real pleasure is making something happen for people who you will never know, who will never know your name." I do think that says a lot about my mother. But she also had a phenomenal career. She was the founder and publisher of the Potomac, Rockville, Bethesda, and Chevy Chase Gazette newspapers. She was elected 3 terms to the Maryland House of Delegates, including service as the ranking member to Ways and Means Committee. She was a champion of education, including her work on the Thornton Commission. She was a champion of women's rights as a commissioner with the Maryland Commission for Women. She was a champion of the Potomac River and the Agriculture Reserve through her work in the legislature and the Planning Commission. And lovingly, she was a champion of her children and her grandchildren. She was on many, many boards, and she had received many awards that we all have in our homes now. She included the Citizen of the Year Award by the Almanac Newspapers, Legislator of the Year by the Maryland Retailers Association, Business Person of the Year by the Maryland Business for Responsive Government, Building a Bridge to Excellence in the Maryland Public Schools by the State Board of Education, Legislator of the Year by the Childhood Brain Tumor Foundation and Registry of Maryland, the Thornton Commission Award by the State Board of Education, Maryland's Top Women's by the Daily Record for 2003 and 2006, the Women's Achievement Award by the Suburban Maryland Business and Professional Women Association, and the Lifetime Service from the Potomac Chamber of Commerce. She was most recently given the award, the Thomas Kennedy Award from the Speaker of the House. And this award was given to her for personal courage and dedication to the principles of liberty and freedom. An example of that, of her courage, was in 2005, the Maryland General Assembly passed a bill advocating by women's rights, creating the Pay Equity Commission to study the persistent gender-based wage gap in our state and make recommendations for its remedy. The bill was vetoed by then Governor Ehrlich. Women's rights groups rallied for overturning the veto, a difficult feat at best, and the legislators lined up along party lines. Only one legislator dared cross that party line and support the override of the veto, again voting against the governor from her own political party. It was a tremendous political risk, and she did what she thought was the right thing to do, not the politically expedient thing to do. In her reflections, she wrote, "I face a difficult campaign. If I do not win, I know I will miss the legislature. Then I will find something else," which she did. "I love being a young wife and mother. I loved being a reporter. I loved being an editor and a publisher. They are yesterday. I live in today. I love being a grandmother. I love listening and not having to respond to every crisis. I love seeing the world moving along." At the end, she shared often with us, "Will I be remembered? Will they remember me?" And both Allison, myself, and Deirdre said, "Yes, you have had a wonderful life. They will remember you." She was very, very pleased with this award, and I can't thank you enough. Her legacy was mentoring. She mentored myself and my two sisters. She mentored us in all different ways. One way she did was, probably for me more, not using literature, not using complicated things, but using movies. I still can watch that movie Secretariat every night if I could. My family knows that. And I'm still overjoyed that poor swims. She would watch other movies, and we watched The Verdict. And there was a quote from the end of that movie, and I don't know if you remember The Verdict with Paul Newman. It's about a nurse, which I'm a nurse. And he's defending a person who has been wronged by the healthcare system. And at the very end of the movie, he turns to the jury and he says, "Act as if you have faith, and faith will be given to you." If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves. She taught my sisters and I that, and her grandchildren, over and over again, have faith in yourself, have faith in justice, and that will happen. She spent enormous time with my son, who is now 18 years old, and she taught him so many things, which today I can see in his eyes. I see the reflections of what she has taught him. But when he was 4, she always told me this story over and over because it touched her so much. She told him a lot of embellished stories, as if you know my mother. She was a wonderful storyteller. But she told him often about King Arthur. And only how King Arthur can pull out that Excalibur sword is because his heart is pure. And she would go on and on. I'll spare him. He did at one moment turn to her after moments passed of her telling the story, and he said to her, "Is my heart pure?" And of course she said yes. The last comment I want to make is, before I make the last comment, I would like to say I do believe that my sisters and I feel very, very in gratitude to my mother. My older sister, all three of us had to get master's degrees, which we did. My older sister is the president, owns her own company, is on the board of visitors at the University of Virginia, Cryor. My younger sister is Deirdre Cryor, and she's the president of the school, St. Mary's Academy in Denver, Colorado. I recently was promoted to senior vice president at Care First, with a wonderful opportunity, taking my nursing background as well as my knowledge of the healthcare system to try to help fix our terrible system. And I love this job that I have. I don't think any of us could do our work or do our jobs without the mentoring and the wonderful part of my mother that she gave us. But this is also from her reflection. It says, "The best moment that I have known as a person was a few months ago. My granddaughters, Emma Jean and Anna Catherine, who are here today, ages 6 and 4, wanted to ride their battery-operated cars on their driveway, which we did use those battery-operated cars in all those parades. They live in a wonderful house with a long driveway, great trees and stream. 'Not towards the stream,' I said to them, 'drive away from the stream.' Jennifer was nearly weeding her garden, her flower garden, like a woman of leisure." That's this quote. "Grandma is a warrior," Emma said mockingly. Anna, with her toddler accent, said, "Is she a warrior? Grandma's a warrior?" And Jennifer said, "Did you say warrior? Did you say what? Grandma is a warrior." "That she is." She said, "Yes, I am a warrior, and I'm a warrior."
How touching to hear Jean's family sharing their memories. We'll be right back with more.
We've all cried.
Yeah, there we go. Great.
I remember when I first became interested in women's history, I was working with my daughter, and I wanted to bring powerful women's stories to her so she could see women who have really made a difference, not just women in the fairy tales, but real women. I had an opportunity to perform very strong women role models and women characters in theater. And one of my favorites was Eliza Doolittle, because she was able to change, to have this almost butterfly metamorphosis, where she started to understand she really made a difference. She was somebody. And I think that when we bring these women's stories alive, we get a more in-depth understanding that, yes, we have meaning, we have ways that we can contribute. And here at Her Story, I'd love to bring these stories to you, to understand and to learn and be inspired by the women who have come before us and contemporary women today who are really making a difference in our world. And it's exciting to learn these stories, and I'd like to share them with you.
First of all, let me just say good evening to everyone. Good evening. I hope that all of the senators and the delegates have been acknowledged. I'd love for all of our members of the Women's Caucus to at least come up front so that we can make sure that we've seen everyone. Let me just say this before making this quick presentation. If you don't know it, I'm sure most of you do, that this year we celebrated the 100th anniversary of the women's suffrage movement. And we did a fantastic job here. We actually had a joint session of both the House and the Senate where all 57 women of the Women's Caucus were able to participate. And it's important because it's really important that we remember how significant and important our roles are in this society and in this legislature. We happen to be 57 women strong, but yet we're still only less than 1/3 of the population of the elected officials that are down here. Women make a difference. Yes. Women make a difference. I happen to have followed my cousin, Senator Gloria Lala, into the Senate of Maryland, and I can tell you it's been a tremendous and a wonderful experience. And I always remember Senator Kelly always saying how important the Women's Commission is, how important the Women's Heritage Center is, and always reminds us of how hard women fought to make sure that we're funded, that the duties and so forth that take place as a result of this commission continue to do so. So again, for all of you who have been inducted, and I feel a kinship to all of you, congratulations, and we are so proud of all of you. And so I am presenting tonight to our Executive Director, Jill Greenberg, the plaque that will be a part of history to acknowledge your induction into the Hall of Fame. Again, congratulations. There's so many of us who are still in meetings, still voting, and I ran down here as well. I see Senator Jones made it. But let me just say, we cannot be more proud of the women who were inducted this evening. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Is Francie Glendenning still in here? She was here, okay. The president of the Maryland Women's Heritage Center is Frances Hughes Glendenning, and she was here, so I did want to acknowledge her, have her come up. This piece of lovely names was all that the Women's Hall of Fame existed as until the Women's Heritage Center opened. Each year, the Maryland Law Library was kind enough to have put the names of the group for that year onto a wooden plaqueboard and add the names for each year. And that was what it consisted of, the Hall of Fame. Well, now that with so much support from so many of you and your organizations and individuals, we've actually been able to open the Maryland Women's Heritage Center, the first of its kind in the country. And we have to credit really the Maryland Commission for Women, which is in DHR, where Secretary Dallas is, the Maryland Department of Planning, and the Maryland State Department of Education for all of their support to help that move forward. And we have to reemphasize too that the Hall of Fame that opened in 1985 was a joint effort of the Maryland Commission for Women and the women legislators of Maryland, a joint collaboration. And that's really important because sometimes the collaboration isn't always clear, and the commission does do a huge amount of work, which we know wonderfully.
Can we give her a big round of applause for all of her hard work? I also want to acknowledge Marcia Wise, our Executive Director of the Women's Legislative Caucus. Please stand up, Marcia. She does a lot of work for us. And I want to take one other moment and acknowledge Jenny Forehand, and I'm sure many of you met her already, Senator Forehand. She's been down here over 30 years, but the stories that she tells, the history that she maintains, and the collections that she has are worth sharing. Thank you all again.
Thank you. We have just a very few people to thank because we're a little bit late for dinner at the governor's mansion. We don't want to keep the governor and his wife waiting here. We wanted to thank Delegate Catherine Pugh and all of the women legislators of Maryland who have sponsored this event tonight. We thank you very much. The Maryland Department of Human Resources, Ted Dallas, thank you for all your support. And the Friends of the Maryland Commission for Women, and also our wonderful staff. I don't know if they're all still here, but without them, this would not happen as well. Bonnie Ariano, will you stand, Special Assistant to Secretary Dallas. Crystal Young, our Program Administrator. Ellie Elton, the Director of Outreach. And Andrea Judkin, who is our intern. They make the wheels go. Also, I just want to end by saying congratulations to each and every one of you special women. We are so proud to induct you into the Maryland Women's Hall of Fame. We are awed by your accomplishments, and we are very proud of every one of you and proud to call you ours. We would like to ask you, honorees, to please stay for a few minutes to have a group photo before we go across the street. And to the rest of you, thank you for joining us. And for those of you who are going to be at the reception, you can thank and recognize these women yourselves. Good evening.
We want to hear from you. How did you like these stories? Do you have some feedback? Tell us about some women that you'd like to see featured. Share the link with your friends and tell them about our programs. Let's spread the word.